So you'll also see that like all of our beef in our display case, all the steaks that we cut, they don't have this puddle of like purge that's on top of them, right? They're nice and red and they bloom when the oxygen hits the meat. But they have lost that like 10% of the water. So if you go to any other like big grocery store, that gets boxed meat, that beef has been taken right off the carcass, just within hours of it being slaughtered, put in a vacuum sealed bag, maybe shipped out to that grocery store like a month later, taken out of the bag, cut right then, put right into the case with no like aging or anything. They'll have like wet aging, but that produces like a little bit more of like an acidic flavor, not like a deep umami flavor like dry aging does. And when you see it in the case, it has like, it's shiny, it's wet, it almost has like meat water on top of it, you know what I mean? And they're selling you this piece of beef that is like 100% hydrated still, and it's not as flavorful, not even close.
Welcome to The More You Know, The Better It Tastes. This is Alan Williams, and my usual partner, Susie Lafredo, is out today, but I'll do my best to handle things. There are butchers, and then there are people who see it as a craft, almost like a responsibility, and that's where this conversation's going today. Because we have, as our guest, Matt Levere. Matt is the head butcher, and he's got other titles, but the main guy at Pullman Market, and going to learn all about it. Matt, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
So nice to meet you. I've heard about you for so long. I've seen little things about you here because you're, is there a master butcher? Is that the right word? Master butcher?
Yeah, they used to have that title back in the day, and that would basically entail you knew how to cut a carcass down into retail cuts for restaurants, how to make sausages, how to even slaughter animals. So I do know how to do all of that. But I don't like using the term master butcher because that, it feels like you're kind of done, you know it all. And every single year I'm learning more and more.
I'm sure. Well, you've had an interesting career so far, and you're still a young man, so you got a long way to go. But I want to learn about you. Where are you from?
Sure. So I actually grew up in Connecticut for about 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And halfway through high school, I moved to Tucson, Arizona.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Night and day difference.
That is a big difference, yeah.
Yeah. And so my sister got into the U of A in Tucson, and then, the whole family moved up there. And I finished out high school, so my 2 years, and then I graduated. I started working in a restaurant, and there was a gentleman who was working at that restaurant as like a part-time prep cook, and he was going through an apprenticeship program that was part of the University of Arizona. And they have like a main campus downtown, and then about 3 miles down the road they have a agricultural and like meat science laboratory.
Interesting.
And part of that, they have a full-scale slaughterhouse. Yeah. So they were also running a like butchery apprenticeship out of that. So
had you ever done anything like that before? Like, did you grow up, on a farm? I don't know, Connecticut, but
No. Very like suburban life style. My dad was a chef my whole life, so I saw fresh food being prepared in front of me my whole life. He could break down fish and chicken and all that kind of stuff, and so I knew really high quality food. But I had never experienced anything like that before.
Wow. And so you said that there was a sous chef, I think you said, that was going through the program, and is that where? Right away you knew that's what I want to do?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It was right at that time in my life. I was like 17, just about to turn 18, where, I had an opportunity to be like a bar back, and maybe I was going to be like a bartender or something. I had an opportunity to be, learn how to bake bread. And then I met this guy.
They wake up too early.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a baker.
Yeah. And then, so I met this guy, and he would come in. He was about halfway through the program, and he would come in with all these crazy stories. I was just a dishwasher at the time. And, I would wait for him, and I'd say, hey, man, tell me another story of what happened. Yeah. And after a couple weeks of this, he was like, hey, why don't you just come, like, shadow me for a day, And I was like, okay. So I did, and I observed a whole day of, slaughter and processing an animal in front of a USDA inspector, and I got to see the whole thing. And it was the most eye-opening experience I had ever seen.
Yeah.
And so at the end of that day, the professor came up to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to join the apprenticeship program?" And I was like shaking my head no and saying yes at the same time, because like I said, it was, if you've never seen it, it's the craziest thing that you've ever seen. But so I did join the program once I turned 18.
Yeah.
And it's about 6 months, 40 hours a week. So you need to you still get like a little clock in card, and you need to clock in about 600 hours, and you learn everything from taking a live animal in, slaughtering it, processing it, right in front of the USDA inspector. And then it goes into a cooler, a series of coolers, one that like blast chills it down to a proper temperature, and then another one where it ages for about a week or two.
Okay.
And then it's brought on the other side of the processing plant, and we cut that carcass to the rancher's spec. So there's like a sheet that they fill out how they want everything cut. So you also go on that side and you learn how to cut down the whole carcass, and you learn beef, pork, chicken, turkey. I did emus at the time. We did some buffalo. Yeah. Because that was out in Arizona. So there was kind of different livestock out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Do you remember the first time you had to take down a live animal?
Yes.
What was it?
It was just what they call a head of beef.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just a, 1,600 pound cow. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And what was that?
It's crazy because I had it's like a modified 22 bolt gun with like a 4-inch hollow tip bolt that's spring action. You put a 22 blank in the back of it, and then there's about a quarter size space on the animal's forehead that you have to nail. And if you do it just right, that's it. It more or less scrambles its brain, turns off the central nervous system, and they just drop like a sack of potatoes. But it's like 1,500 or 1,600 pounds that just boom go down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny. My son just told me about, I think it was a movie or a TV show. I think it's a movie. And this guy, he was a serial killer, and that's what he would do, is use that same thing that they would use for cattle.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing. So at what point, was there a point where you realized, hey, this isn't just a job for me, this is a life?
Yeah. So I went through that whole program, right, 6 months in, and I felt like I almost came alive. Like I had never learned more in my life than in that 6-month period, and I had just left high school. High school, was not my thing, really,
Me either.
Yeah. So I was like, working with my hands is better. I knew I didn't quite want to be a chef. I had worked with a bunch of chefs. I always respected it, but it just wasn't, I didn't have a desire to like make all these beautiful plates and things like that. But I love the food industry, and I wanted to stay in the food industry. So I figured that this would be a great opportunity for me to do that. And so after those 6 months, I applied to a resort in Wyoming, and they had probably about 400 employees, 3 restaurants, and they had a full-time bake shop and a butcher shop that cut all the meat for all the restaurants. And I applied for it, and I got it. And I was it was like a summer season. Through those 6 months, I was able to kind of find my path in the food industry, and all the chefs, I was like a tool for the chefs to come up with their perfect menu, and they would come to me with these ideas. And from there, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You're really, you're making a difference in a restaurant and what is being served, and you're making big decisions for a young man. That's really amazing. Yeah. So being from Phoenix, or from Arizona, did you know Kevin Fink there? Kevin Fink is the owner of Pullman Market and that all of those wonderful restaurants down at the Pearl. Did you know him there?
Okay, so this is the kind of the full circle story here. It was very cool. So that restaurant I was working at as a dishwasher was his restaurant.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I was, my dad told me that there was a restaurant down the street that was hiring, and he told me that, I had to go apply. And I ride my skateboard down there, and I roll up, and they, grand opening, now hiring kind of thing. And this is in 2008. And I go up to the first person I see, and I say, hey, I'm looking for a job. And they're like, oh, do you want to work in the front or the back? And I was like, the back. And they're like, oh, and I hear, oh, you want to work in the back? come over here, sit down with us. And it's Kevin Fink.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go and I sit down, and he's telling me all about the restaurant, and it's going to be this pizza restaurant. They make everything from scratch, and I thought that was just how every restaurant was. But
You didn't know about Cisco of the world.
I didn't know. I did not know. And the passion that he had was very captivating, obviously. And so I was like, I'd love to be a dishwasher. And so he hired me in,
Mm-hmm.
and the 2008 recession had just hit at that time,
Yeah.
and all of my high school friends were working at other restaurants on that main street on the east side of Tucson, and they were having a real tough time. And a lot of those restaurants closed. The restaurant that we were working at, they actually had to extend their hours because they were so busy.
Yeah.
And he was a huge driving force behind that.
Sure.
And just thought it was the highest quality pizza that I had ever had at the time, and that's kind of what my first job experience was, which, looking back at it was like, wow, that really helped me build a solid foundation, at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very important, like no bad habits and those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a cool Kevin Fink story as well. I had already been to Pullman Market a couple of times. My business partner had never been, and I wanted to go and buy some fresh pasta to take home. Mm-hmm. So I said, "Come with me. I'll show you around." So we're there, and she's taking pictures. And as we walked past Fife and Faro,
Mm-hmm.
is the Italian, the pizza place there, the guy behind the counter, he says, "Hey, y'all look like somebody I should be talking to," because we were taking pictures. So we started talking to him. And at some point, he mentioned about how important it was for him to buy locally, to meet the local ranchers and stuff like this. And I thought, I asked him, I said, are you the manager? And he says, "No, I own this." I said, "I thought Kevin Fink owned the whole thing." "Yeah, that's me." So, whoa. Incredible. That was really neat. That he was behind the counter. I mean, he was really working, and I understand he does that all the time.
All the time. He's on the ground level all the time, and he loves to talk to anyone and everyone about Pullman, and he'll give them a tour. He'll drop whatever he's doing to give a tour, a full tour.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, let's fast forward. How did you end up did he bring you in, I guess, once he opened Pullman?
Yeah, so again, I was working with or for him while I was going through my butchery apprenticeship program. And so, I just keeping him updated on what I was doing and all that. And he was a mentor of mine early on, obviously. And he was a huge influence on me. And I moved out to D.C. and for about 10 years. And, through that time, I moved out there in like 2012. Through that time, he moved out to Austin and he opened up Emmer and Rye. And through like the next 5 to 6 years, it felt like he was just winning every award that you could win.
He's still doing that. Yeah,
yeah, he's still doing it. And I would always, "Hey, chef, congratulations!" And at the time, I was making all types of like salami, and I would just send it to him for feedback, during the holidays or whatever, and just keeping in touch with him and whatnot. And so, he actually called me about Pullman in 2020, and he painted the picture. Even though he was talking about this kind of stuff in 2008, believe it or not,
I do believe it. Yeah.
But here we are, fast forward, 10 years, 12 years, and he calls me in 2020. This is before the pandemic hit, and he's telling me all about it. And he was like, "We want to open it, at the beginning of 2021." And I was like, "Oh man, my wife was pregnant at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know if that was a good time to move, all that." And so obviously the pandemic hit and it delayed things, which actually turned out really well because we were able to have our child, and
where you're used to, and
kind of handle the ropes on that, and then he called back again and he was like, "Hey, okay, we're picking the project back up and we're gonna do this." And I'm like, "Okay, great." So we flew out to San Antonio to check it out, and he showed us all around, and it was a really good opportunity to, like, in the DC area, Maryland and Virginia, it's extremely expensive, especially for like a young couple, a young family. And out here, it's very much affordable. So it was a lifestyle change as well. Not only to work in like the coolest position I've ever worked in, but also to live a little bit more comfortably.
Yeah,
so
I guess so. Yeah, and Yeah, you're right. And San Antonio is a great place to be. So I've lived here my whole life, so I did it right.
Nice.
So I skipped over your apprenticeship program. I know you worked at different places, but one of the coolest things that you've gotten to do, for the listener, you may have heard the name Dario Cecchini. Did I say it right? Cecchini?
Dario Cecchini.
Cecchini. So Dario is typically, what I hear. He is probably the most famous butcher in the world. He's in Italy, and once you see his picture, maybe we'll show his picture here. You've seen him on TV, and any of the international food shows. They always have an episode where he's part of it. He's an amazing butcher. He cares about the animal, and he uses every part of the animal. And you got to not only meet him, you got to work with him.
Yes, that's
How did
correct.
that happen?
That was an experience of a lifetime, honestly. Right around that time, I had worked I told you I worked in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
I did that 3 years in a row. And so on my third season, I bought a one-way ticket to Europe. One-way ticket. And I was like, we'll just see what happens.
Wow.
And I brought all my butcher knives, and I was like, I'm going to try and work.
Wait, how did that get through TSA?
I had to kind of like make up a story. At least I had a story in my head, like if they asked me about it.
Yeah.
But going into the country, they didn't say anything. And then coming back, that's when I got questioned, when they really like opened up my bag and they're like, what is all this, And I was like, oh, my uncle in England or whatever, gave these all to me. And they're like, oh, okay. And they just like folded it all back and sent me on my way. Yeah, but so my goal was in those 3 months was to work under as many butchers as I possibly can, like European style butchers. And obviously one of them was Dario Cecchini. And so on that third season, when I was driving up to Wyoming, right before I left Tucson, actually Kevin, I don't know if he even remembers this, he burned me a CD, an audiobook called Heat by Bill Buford.
Okay.
And it's a super well-known, book about this guy's journey. He's like a New York Times like food writer, and he writes articles for them, and he writes books and things like that. And he went all over Europe to try and learn, how to make pasta, how to make, be a butcher and all this. And so he seeked out all the best butchers, or all the best like food craftsmen, and a whole chapter was him training under Dario Cecchini. That was kind of the motivation to get over there, and it was, my goal was to go meet this guy. Even if I shake his hand, I'm like, that's the goal I have. And in the meantime, to try and work under other butchers as well. So during that summer I was up in Wyoming, I was saving up money, and I was preparing for this backpacking trip. And I was sending out 10 emails a week to butchers in Germany and Spain and France and England and Italy. And probably 30, 40 emails I sent out, and only 2 people got back to me. One was a butcher up in Leeds, England.
Okay.
And one was Dario Cecchini.
Amazing.
I know.
That he would actually read your email and respond back. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So my ticket put me in Heathrow in London in November, I think at the beginning of November. And then so Dario said I could come work for him, the way that I phrased the email was, can I come observe a day of work, right? Because at the time you could not work illegally, I should say. You couldn't, and I'm from a different country, and I'm basically.
Exactly,
yeah. So, and they were cracking down big time in Italy about that kind of stuff. So that's how I phrase it. Can I come observe a day of work? Not, hey, can I come work for you for free or whatever? No. And so he said, yes, I could come at the beginning of December. So I had about 6 weeks to kill before that. So I did go work for that butcher in Leeds beforehand, and that was also a eye-opening experience. They were voted like Britain's best butcher in like 2007, and they had they were known for their pork pies. I don't know if you ever heard of a pork pie.
I have heard of, I know they have different pies.
Yeah, it's huge over there, and I was very intrigued. And you go in there, and they had like a whole pork pie factory on top of their butcher shop, and people would just come in, and I mean, they would eat them like muffins every single morning. Yeah, and each pork pie has like a different filling, and they were just known for just how delicious they were. So I got to work with them in the factory and in the butcher shop downstairs, and they were just very hospitable, very hospitable. And then I flew over to Italy after a week of working with that butcher in Leeds. I flew over to Italy, and I was able to contact a farmer through like a kind of like a woofing website, if you ever heard of that. It's kind of like they exchange room and board for a couple hours of work, you know. There's like all these websites for all over the world that you can go work on these farms. And so one of them was looking for a butcher to help them harvest their animals for the winter. And it was a mountain town in Italy in the Piedmont region in like the Northwest area. And so, yeah, I mean, my experience there, I stayed there for 3 weeks. And that was absolutely incredible experience as well.
I imagine. Eating
fresh food, you know, that they made themselves. They had a pantry, a bunch of canned stuff. They would trade other farmers, you know, for, you know, fresh cheese and salami, and oh my God, it was absolutely insane.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah.
And then from there, I took the train down to Tuscany, and I was able to meet Dario. Right, so it was the middle of the day. I just went there. In that time in December, a lot of like boutique hotels and like Airbnb style, you know, places, they just go out of business. Like they do not, they just want to spend it with family. They are not worried about business, anything like that. And I couldn't find anything online, and I had real like shoddy service anyway. And I was like, I'm just going to go there and I'm going to figure it out, you know? And so I do. And it was getting cold. It was like December, it was in the winter kind of. And I roll up to the town, and you had mentioned that he was on Anthony Bourdain's show.
Yes.
And just from that video, because I had watched it so many times, that episode, I remembered from the bus stop how to walk all the way to, you know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, his butcher shop. So I do, and I get there, and he's the only spot that's open. And I walk in, and there he is. And he's like, you know, behind his display case, kind of up on a platform, and he's playing like AC/DC rock music, you know. And Kim, his wife, is there, and she was an American, and she was like, "Oh, Matt," I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh, okay, oh, amazing, great, I'm glad that you got here." And Dario comes from around the counter, and now in front of his counter space, this is like the coolest thing about his butcher shop, and it's kind of like the heartbeat of the town, where he has a table filled with bread, salami, wine, and like whipped lard, pork fat. And it's like salted, really delicious. Oof. And anyone that wants to come in at any point in the day and just chat with him or get a bite to eat or whatever, you're welcome to pig out, basically.
Wow, yeah, what a dream.
I know. So when I'm going there, and I'm talking to Kim, his wife, and he's coming around, and he pours a glass of wine for him, pours a glass of wine for me, and he comes up to me, and he's like, "Matt," and he like gives it to me, and he's like, "Dario," and I'm like, wow. It's like, of course I know who you are. It's like, okay, and he cheers me, and he says, "Drink," like this, you know.
Love it.
And we drink it, and he just seems so happy that I was there, you know. But I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is like larger than life right now.
Yeah.
And he brought me up to his restaurant that's on top of his butcher shop, and he sat me down, and he literally sent out the whole menu for me to eat. Wow. I mean, it was smaller portions of it, but I got to eat everything right then.
So you just weren't some kid from America that's coming to bother him. He really treated you like a guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool.
And this is like before, you know, I had any like online presence or anything. So I'm just walking in, just a random person. I just expressed that I had listened to, you know, everything that any kind of like content he had online. I watched it, and I believed thoroughly what he was about, and I just really wanted to go and like work under him or like observe a day of work, right?
Yeah.
And he was all about it. So yeah, I got to eat lunch there, and then Kim, his wife, came up, and she was like, "Okay, do you have like a place to stay?" And I was like, "About that, I actually don't." And she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We have apartments across the street, and you can stay there for the night." I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I did, And the next morning, I went with his butchers to, he has like a kind of like a processing facility down the street.
Okay.
And I was able to, this is supposed to be the observed part where I don't touch anything or whatever, but they were shorthanded that day. And I did whatever I could to try and pick up the slack. Breaking down pigs, moving meat around, vacuum sealing any kind of meat, labeling stuff, cleaning, sweeping up stuff, all that for 8 hours, right? So then we come back, and there was a gentleman who kind of runs that facility. His name's Orlando, and he's like a much older butcher.
Okay.
Absolute like master butcher. This guy was so good. And I see him go up to Dario, and they both look at me, and I can't hear what they're saying, and even if I could hear them, they're speaking Italian, so and I just see Dario point at me, and then Orlando point at me, and he goes, "Buono," meaning good.
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, he's good.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, okay, I hope that was a good thing. And Kim comes over to me, Dario's wife, and she's like, okay, you can stay with us for the week if you'd like to. I was like, oh, absolutely, I'd love to. And she's like, yeah, you'll just work in the butcher shop in the morning and then work in our restaurant at night. I was like, absolutely, no problem at all. And they fed me, breakfast, lunch, and dinner that whole time. But I'd work 8 hours in the shop and then 8 hours in the restaurant at night.
Long day.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, I'm used to working that kind of, those hours. So I was all for it. And it was so stimulating, and everything was so new. I mean, I could have worked probably 24 hours straight for 7 days a week. I was so wired and just so excited to be there, because it's so gorgeous. It's a wine country too, So that was an incredible experience.
That is amazing. So you mentioned European butchery. What's different European than American?
That's actually a really good question. So Europeans utilize all the muscles of the animal, and they focus on what is known as seam butchery. So they go through the shoulder and they take out every individual muscle. They don't cut through a muscle, to take like a section off or anything like that. And then each one of those muscles has a different, you can grill it or braise it or cure it into some kind of like salumi, like a lomo or filetto or something like this, where every single muscle has like its own place. In America, especially where I trained at that facility at the University of Arizona Meat Science Lab, it's very much so what they call like American chop block style. So you take a shoulder, you cut it into 4 sections, boom, boom, boom. You throw it on a bandsaw, zip this down, zip that down. You're going through like 5 different muscles. You got like the shoulder chop. You know what I mean? A shoulder chop has like 5 different things in it, plus bone. You don't really see that in Europe. So that's the big difference where it elevated my game. Where sometimes the American chop block style is necessary because you got to speed things up, and it depends on who you're cutting for, what you're cutting for, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
European style is much more, finesse. You got to take your time with it, build up your knife skills, and then it expands your education on all the different pieces and the things that you can do with it. So that's really what I wanted to go learn.
That's really cool. All right, well, I'll tell you what, this has been fascinating so far, but let's stop here and take a break, and we'll come back and learn more.
Awesome.
All right, we'll be right back.
Have you heard these before?
It's too expensive.
There's no money up front. It's only $30 a month per device.
My staff won't know how to use it.
It's easy. It takes 1 shift and everybody's got it.
My staff won't learn it fast.
It's so easy. By the end of the first shift, they'll be experts.
It's just a POS.
Oh, it's not just a POS. It's table-side ordering. It's QR ordering. It's all-night ordering. We even give you a free website. If you don't have a website, we'll give you one. And that's why Alamo Biscuit Company uses SkyTap, powered by San Antonio POS. And that's why Alamo Biscuit Company uses SkyTap, powered by San Antonio POS.
Oh, it's perfect.
And we are back. This is The More You Know, The Better It Tastes. And today we have Matt Levere. Matt is the head butcher at Pullman Market, and he is a whole animal butcher. What does that mean?
Good question. So Pullman Market, we buy in the whole carcass. So we buy in a beef carcass that weighs about 850 to 950 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And you get everything from the shoulder, the rib, the loin, and the round. No hide, no guts or anything like that, but it's the whole carcass, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we buy the whole thing. And to a rancher, that is a rancher's dream because they can focus on what they want to focus on, which is raising the animal as best as they possibly can, right? If they don't have a place that can buy the whole thing, they have to kind of go and peddle it at farmers markets, right?
Yeah.
And it adds a whole nother layer of business to what they have to do. And it can be very, very difficult for them to do that. And for the most part, they can only sell their beef frozen, right? So a processor will take their carcass down and break it down, vacuum seal it into all the different cuts, and then they freeze it, and the ranchers pick it up frozen. They have to maintain it frozen, and then week after week, they try and sell it at the farmer's market, right? Mm-hmm. But us at Pullman Market, we buy in the whole carcass, and it's never been frozen. And again, that is a dream for any farmer to be able to sell a restaurant or a butcher shop a whole animal because of this, right? And then since it's never been frozen, you get all these different flavor profiles. If you go to Pullman Market in the meat department, we have a huge dry age locker, and we store all of our beef in there.
Even without tasting it, just looking at that dry aged beef is amazing. It's really interesting to look at.
It is. It's the best dry age program that I've ever been part of. And the cool thing is we buy from so many local ranches that also creates different subtleties in the beef there as well. So all of our beef gets stored in there, broken down, stored in there. And like the loin meats, like rib loins, where you get your ribeyes, the short loin where you get your like T-bones, your fillets, your porterhouses. We'll age those for 30 days. And then the other cuts, like the rounds, the back legs, those will maybe age for about 5 to 10 days. So every piece of beef that we sell in the retail is got some level of dry age to it. And if you haven't had like that kind of beef before, it's unbelievable. So when you put something in a dry ager like that, you have 360-degree airflow, just constant. And we got these two fans that are literally meant to dry age beef. And it controls temperature, humidity, and airflow. And the humidity is a huge part. You want it about 75% humidity. So when the fan sucks up all the precipitation in that room, it runs it through this UVC blue light, and it kills all the bacteria, yeast, and molds. So when it spits out, the clean air, it just creates a really healthy environment all the time.
So it can age faster, I guess, too, right?
You don't necessarily want something to age faster, but you just want it to age in a healthy environment. Okay. That's the biggest thing. So because we're getting in, beef and pork from all these different farms, they can have different bacteria going on and things like that. So if you put it in a room that is meant to dry age beef and pork, you're just going to come up with the cleanest product that product can lend itself to. So like I said, the air is going constantly. We have the loins in that window that you can see aging for about 30 days. And during that time, you're going to have a little bit of dehydration, right? Just naturally. You're going to lose about 10 to 15% from the original weight. And you're going to have enzymatic breakdown of the proteins and the fat. And you're going to get this more robust beef flavor and a more tender piece of beef. So, and that's all of our beef.
So it's worth losing a little bit of the mass in order to have a better flavor.
Oh, 1,000%. If you haven't had this kind of beef before, it is a night and day difference. So you'll also see that like all of our beef in our display case, all the steaks that we cut, they don't have this puddle of like purge that's on top of them, right? They're nice and red and they bloom when the oxygen hits the meat. But they have lost that like 10% of the water. So if you go to any other like big grocery store, that gets boxed meat, that beef has been taken right off the carcass, just within hours of it being slaughtered, put in a vacuum sealed bag, maybe shipped out to that grocery store like a month later, taken out of the bag, cut right then, put right into the case with no like aging or anything. They'll have like wet aging, but that produces like a little bit more of like an acidic flavor, not like a deep umami flavor like dry aging does. And when you see it in the case, it has like, it's shiny, it's wet, it almost has like meat water on top of it, you know what I mean? And they're selling you this piece of beef that is like 100% hydrated still, and it's not as flavorful, not even close. Yeah, so that's.
So, I don't know if I've had. I think I've had a dry aged beef steak, but maybe not. So if I'm going to come down and I go to your butcher shop there in Pullman Market, I can buy a ribeye or something like that is going to be different.
Oh, 1,000%. If you haven't had it, it's going to blow your mind.
How does it compare to Wagyu?
Oh, so we do sell Wagyu, actually. Yeah, so we sell Angus and we sell Wagyu. We get two to three Angus carcasses in.
Does Wagyu have a different flavor, or if it's just more tender than a typical?
Good question. So the Wagyu that we buy in, the genetics can be traced all the way back to a Japanese bull that just has a higher propensity to put on marbling.
So it could have been raised here in Texas, but it has the heritage of that original bull.
Absolutely. So it was born and raised in Texas with Japanese genetics that were, created that animal, that heritage breed. Yeah. So, and the thing with Wagyu is it has a higher propensity to put on a more of a marble, right? So like if you look at that meat and you see all those like little lightning bolts of fat, that's what we call intramuscular fat or marbling.
That's what I call yum.
Yeah, it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
So the Wagyu beef that we get in will range anywhere from 35 to 45% intramuscular fat, which is insane. And the Angus that we get in, so like you've heard of like Select, Choice, and Prime before?
Yes.
Okay. That is like the American grading. That goes up to 12%. That's what Prime is, 12%. So the Wagyu is 2, sometimes 3 times more marbled than the Angus. Yeah. So we sell the Angus and it tastes unbelievable. And it's that kind of like robust beef flavor that like a lot of Texans are used to, even like just Americans. Like most grocery stores sell Angus, right?
Yeah.
But then we dry age it. So it gives it a whole nother level. And the Wagyu is more tender because of all that fat in there. It's more rich, and a little bit goes a long way. So you could buy like, one New York strip and split it between 2 people, and you're going to feel satiated, and it's going to have incredible flavor if you've never had it before. Yeah. Where like a New York strip of the Angus, I can eat one to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So just before we leave it, the whole butchery thing, what do you do with lungs and hearts and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, good question.
Sausage.
Yeah. Well, so we work with a processor, and they take the hide off, they take the guts out. So we do get, some pork liver, some heart, and we do get some beef heart and things like that. We make a ton of dog treats that are basically unadulterated. It's just got the ground organs in there, and we smoke those off, and they sell really well because dogs just go crazy for this like super high nutritional snack, right? No seasonings or anything, nothing, no filler, nothing like that. Those do really well. But like, for instance, the bones and the fat, we have a huge commercial kitchen in the back of Pullman Market, and they render all those things down, and we use all the fat for all of our fryers. So even Burgers by Butcher, we have beef tallow fries, unbelievable flavor. I mean, we have different seasonings and things like that, but salt, I mean, that's all you need. And then they put it in the tortillas as well. So this is like a Sonoran style tortilla that we sell in the market, and it has pork fat and beef fat in it. Again, if you haven't had one, you can literally just go over there and ask for a sample. Unbelievable flavor. Really, really delicious. And then, so we cut all the meat and seafood for all the restaurants inside Pullman Market, and there's 4 full-service sit-down restaurants.
Yeah.
And all the chefs put their orders in at night for like the commercial kitchen, for the stock bases to make all their soups and sauces.
Okay.
And then they'll hit us up and they'll say, oh yeah, I need 4 porterhouse for the menu tomorrow. Cool, cut it. or Mesquite, which is our Sonoran-style Mexican restaurant, will say, "Oh, I need 100 pounds of carne asada." Yeah, no problem, got it. And we'll cut the back leg. All these different cuts have different places for them to go. So it's full utilization of the animal. And that's why it's like a chef's dream to work there, because they can literally come up with whatever restaurant or menu item that they have been dreaming of, because we have every cut available.
Wow. So let's name the restaurants that you provide meat to there.
Sure. So we have Isidore, which has a Michelin star, just got a Michelin star in October. And it got a green star as well for sustainability. So we dry age all the beef for them.
So you kind of get to pat yourself on the shoulder for that one. That's you getting that really.
Yeah, I like to say we are a Michelin star butcher, because we are absolutely connected with Isidore. But it's a super special restaurant, and the chefs there are, wizards, absolute wizards. I go back there, and they are creating stuff I've never tasted before, never seen before. So definitely recommend trying that restaurant. It's unbelievable. Then we have Mesquite, and that has a Bib Gourmand recommendation from Michelin as well. And they have like a Sonoran style Mexican menu, not like a Tex-Mex, right? So they focus on the tortillas with the beef fat and the pork fat in it. Totally different flavor and texture. And then they grill all of their carne asada over mesquite wood. So the flavor is unbelievable. Yeah, it's not like a flat top or whatever. That's a live fire cooking right there,
Yeah.
And then, and their chips and guacamole is insane. And
I haven't had that.
And their margaritas.
Yeah, very good.
Unbelievable, yeah. So then, across the market is Fife and Faro, and they are an unbelievable Italian restaurant. And they make all their own pasta, make all their own pizza dough, and it's a wood fire pizza dough. You can see the two big ovens, right there with the oak wood cooking. And we make all the meat, like the meatballs for them. We make the pepperoni for their pizza. So this is one of those moments where it's super cool, where the chef told me that he wanted a pepperoni recipe, right? He wanted to make it in-house. So, okay, cool. So I made an iteration of it. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I just want a little bit more of the paprika flavor." It's like, so I make a second one, and then we do half pork, half beef, and we do all these different combinations. We get to, I think, the 15th iteration. And he's like, "This is unbelievable." I'm like, okay, great. Okay, cool. And we put it on the pizza. And when we open up, he named the pizza after me.
Oh,
so
no kidding.
Yeah, it's called Maddie's Pepe.
Okay.
So it's their number one selling pizza. And it's so good. And it's got the pizza or the pepperoni that we make in the butcher shop for them, to the chef's spec, But it was just cool to have that collaboration. And that's a collaboration that happens like every week with these guys, because these chefs are so talented, and like they always want to push the program. So they're always looking to do something, cooler or refined. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then the burger place.
Yep. So,
and then Ladino also, is that part of? I know it's owned by. It's an Emmer and Rye restaurant, right?
It is. Yeah.
Is it considered part of it? Do you provide meat for Ladino?
Yeah. If they want to, typically they'll buy from us if they're doing like a special event or something like that. Yeah. But they do a lot of lamb, and right now we don't sell a lot of lamb in the market, but they'll buy in whole lambs and break it down over there, put it on their menu. Yeah.
So I keep going back to the whole animal thing. In Europe, they tend to eat more lungs and hearts and innards than we do. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you see United States changing anytime soon? Do you see any kind of?
It's in Europe, when I went over there, it was like there was a butcher shop on every corner. And most of them did whole animal butchery, and most of them were known for this sausage, blood sausage, or a pork pie with, kidneys in it, or something like that, America is a little bit more fast paced than that, so we are, with Pullman Market, we are trying to bring that kind of stuff back. It's education. So if you come to the butcher shop, you'll see, on the tags there, the location of the farm, what the item is, so cool. What the breed is. And we're just trying to educate people like, this is unbelievable meat that's right here in Texas, and you can get to know your farmer. And we're just trying to bring that back, and it's very sustainable for for the farmers, for us, at the scale that we're at, and even to the customer. Because if you buy from Pullman, you're directly supporting the local San Antonio ranchers, right? I mean, they're in Pleasanton. It's like 45 minutes away. Luling, Seguin, Fayetteville, Floresville, they're all right there. And all of those ranchers come to Pullman Market.
Yeah.
They'll eat at one of the restaurants, and they know that they can buy their beef at the retail store, or they can get it on the menu, because all the meat and seafood is from the butcher.
That's really cool. From your perspective, what are restaurants getting wrong when it comes to meat?
Yeah, so that if we back up to what I was saying before, where it's like a rancher's dream, where they wish restaurants could just take the whole, carcass.
Yeah.
That is typically what a lot of restaurants, I would say, they don't have the capacity to buy a whole carcass, right? And then you'll get special restaurants like Emmer and Rye. I don't know if you've been up there, but that's like the flagship restaurant of Emmer and Rye, and what ultimately created Pullman Market, where, Kevin was the head chef over there for a long time. And he would say, okay, we're going to buy this pig in, and we are just going to figure it out. We're going to break it down into all the million different pieces. And he also liked the European style, butchery. Break it down to all these different pieces. And he's like, we are going to create the menu around this. So they would change the menu every single day, to make sure. And that's when you go into Emmer and Rye, it's like, that is what the vibe is. And that it's going to be like a wonderland for like foodies, because it's always going to be something unbelievably delicious. And they just figured it out, especially I think they're more than 10 years in now. And that's what they do. They buy the whole pig. They break it down a million different ways, a million different preparations, instead of hitting up the farmer and say, no, I only want rib chops. And the farmer's like, what am I going to do with, what am I going to do with the rest of this, So I think, some places don't have the space for it. They don't have the skill for it. There is definitely a learning curve, that comes with it that can be very costly. And so it's scary to buy the whole thing. If you don't have a plan for it, it's scary. And it can be not financially a good decision to do that.
Makes sense.
So but a lot of restaurants can easily just reach out to local ranchers and ask them, what do they have? A lot of ranchers, can sell them whole bellies. A lot of chefs know what to do with a pork belly. Legs, if you know how to make sausage, you can just buy legs from the farmers, instead of just taking the easier route and going with like, big wholesalers, and they have a 60-pound box of pork butt that they can just drop off to your back door. It's like, if you pay just a little bit more for a higher quality, it's really going to show.
It's going to make the difference.
It's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I would like to have you back again, if you would, because I could go on for another hour. This is just fascinating.
Yeah, same.
And really, really good information. And if you have not been to Pullman Market yet, you need to go. It is the coolest place in San Antonio, and it's right there inside the Pearl. It's a market. It's got all these great restaurants surrounding it. But definitely when you go, spend time in the produce section too, because that's all local as well and really cool stuff. And all the produce there is being fed into the restaurants that are there. So look at the produce, but go to the meat market, and you'll probably see Matt there. I think I've seen you there before. And, and it's okay for people to ask for you, isn't it? When they come up,
absolutely.
You want to meet people.
Absolutely.
So check out the meat market. It's incredible. But also check out the fishmonger and all the ceviches that you have. You have some they even have samples of the ceviche. You can try different kinds. Really cool stuff. So Pullman Market, and be sure and stop in to see Matt.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, come visit me at Pullman Market. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here today. All right. Well, we will be back again in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, for another great interview. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be a good one. I know that. So until then, please tell your friends about this podcast. Share. Let them know. The more you know, the better it tastes. And we have lots of great interviews from our past that are online you can go see. Until then, please support local. That's what we want to do. So until then, we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.